Welcome
We're
to the
ready.
stream. I hope
Off
that
the art
sounds
magic.
better now. We've got some people over on YouTube. Josh Silver Sports, my Balzac Ertz. Welcome to the stream. Um, Facebook, I haven't got pulled up here yet. Uh,
I got it up.
yeah, I'm gonna get it up so I know who's talking to me since it wasn't showing names before. Um, but yeah. So Combine. Brad, why don't you go ahead and tell us who stuck out to you at the Combine? And let's stay away from defense because we're not drafting any defensive players. But who
It'd be a
stuck
wonderful
out to
Steve.
you at the Combine?
Well, obviously, a guy that we've kind of been talking about here recently, thanks to our boy Taylor, would be Denzel Mims. He was off the charts. It feels like, and Donovan People-Jones. He didn't run an amazing 40, but for his size, it was really good. And it was like 40. Was it 44 inch vert or whatever? I mean, he basically put up Calvin Johnson-esque numbers at the combine. So those two guys are guys that really stood out to me that I think really helped their draft stock. I think Taylor mentioned in one of the chats that he heard Denzel Mims, the first rounder, somewhere. So I'm excited about both those guys. What about you, Taylor? Since I keep saying your name.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to make my pick, but it's it's being a little wonky.
Who are you trying to pick?
Swift.
Swift? Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll get Swift in there for you. Oh,
Yeah,
dang it.
I highlight his name. It doesn't give me the option to draft him.
Are you logged in?
Yeah. Okay. Now it's saying I'm not logged in. I swear I was logged in. All right. So to
Well,
answer your
we started
question,
off top notch. We were trying to go early, but somebody had to play Fortnite.
yeah, I was
Make sure
logged in.
everything
I had
was
to
working.
finish what I started.
No, this is what happens when you go live. A lot of people go on. They either pre-record their videos or they pre-record their podcasts and can delete this stuff, but we just give it to you raw.
That's right.
Oh,
Sorry, to answer your question, who stuck out? I thought that, I mean, like you mentioned, Mims and Peoples Jones. I think Peoples Jones, I didn't see a lot of production on tape for him, but a lot of that was quarterback play too, driven. So to see those numbers, to show that kind of show off his athletic profile was surprising to me. I think from a running back standpoint, the most impressive was probably AJ Dillon, just because all of those numbers that popped off jumped off the page there from the combine. I just didn't see any of that on tape. So I'm curious as to whether he's like another Christine Michael or something like that, just a workout warrior that can dominate those types of drills, but it doesn't always translate to the field. But he was definitely an interesting one for me there.
what about you, Rick?
I would have to second AJ Dillon, except for the fact that I kind of saw it on tape. Like he was a power back, but even though we didn't see a lot of usage in the passing game, he always seemed to have pretty decent hands on the opportunities that he got. So I noticed it's my pick here, and I think everybody knows who I'm taking. Um, as
Anthony McFarland.
as long as I didn't miss anybody here. Um, but I think Michael Pittman too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really helped himself. I see people having him ranked now as their number 4 wide receiver, a guy that we were talking
Yep.
about, in early second round of drafts and whatnot. And just so everybody knows, we do only have 10 people drafting in this, so you know, pick 13 or 203 in this would be your normal 201. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I thought that he really helped his stock a lot, and he was already a guy that I liked, so seeing him move up. But another one would be Chase Claypool, who I was trying to keep my Notre Dame bias out of, because I liked him, but I didn't know if it was just being completely transparent. I didn't know if it was just because I was a Notre Dame fan. But that boy moved fast. For a guy that people thought might have to move to tight end, he booked it.
Well, it'd be
But
interesting if he did get moved to tight end, then his numbers are even more. ridiculous compared to the other guys,
So
at tight end position. So
right,
not that he needs to, but
but let's think if he got moved to tight end right away, where would you rank him in this tight end class?
I mean, I'd have him at. I would need to watch him a little bit more because I haven't watched a ton of tape on him yet. But I'd say he'd be up there for me in the 1-2 conversation at least.
Did you get logged in, Taylor?
No, I keep
Who do
logging
you
in. It
want?
says I'm logged in. I'll take Brian Edwards. I'm still on the Brian Edwards train. I listed him and Tyler Johnson as my two most disappointing combine performances because we didn't get any performances out of them. But his profile looks pretty impressive. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't think he's going to be participating in the pro day due to his foot injury. Don't think that's going to be healed up in the next few weeks. But I don't know if he could have run and been in the 4.5 range and even just kind of hit 50th percentile type of testing numbers, his breakout age and all those other things that we look at too, in addition to what we saw on tape, I think he could be an immediate contributor as well.
Here's another guy that I think helped himself a little bit, and I see him moving up a lot of boards and a lot of people talking about. He's a little more for a lot of people. He's a little more um, landing spot dependent, but it's another guy. I know Brad and I were both on him from early on in our rookie research, and I think there's a part where I probably would have taken Zach Moss. But I'm half paying attention to the draft and half paying attention to talking. But damn, AJ Dillon moved
That's
way
huge.
up, because
Mm-hmm.
this was a guy that was going in the late third, fourth round in our rookie drafts pre-combine, and now he's up there at 207 in a 10 man, so 205
Yeah.
in a normal 12 man. So that's a big jump, and there's somebody that has fallen. So I probably would have went Zach Moss there if I was paying 100% attention to my draft. Um, but I still feel the same way about Anthony McFarland, and I would take him before Dillon and Vaughn.
I would have taken McFarland if you didn't. So I think it's all.
It's
I mean,
just
they're
it's
all
just switched a
but
little bit from where it probably would be. But Zach Moss, I think he was a little bit slower than people expected.
First quarterback off the board, Joe Burrow, followed by Tua.
Damn, bam, bam.
Yep. I think it'll be interesting to see where they go in one quarterback leagues because, I mean, we pretty much know landing spot for Burrow. I guess Tua is still kind of up in the air, but a ton of mock drafts have him pegged to Miami. So assuming he's starting pretty much right away and Burrow's starting right away,
I
how early are you taking them in one quarterback rookie
well, and
pick?
it's so weird that after the combine, man, it almost feels like even though Tua had really good medicals, like there were a lot of chatter that I've been hearing on the podcast and the different guys that I listen to that they're not sold on him and that they may like Herbert, just as much as Tua if you're, when you're talking Miami. I mean, it's like it's smokescreen season, so how much of that is really true, who knows? But I really felt like even though he had a good combine medical wise, that he didn't have nearly as much
see that's a
excitement.
steal.
Oh yeah, Pittman there at 3-2 is good.
Yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
steal. I considered taking him when I took McFarland too. Um, yeah, well, my thing is that one, I don't expect Tua to start. I think any team that drafts him has to have a vet in place, give him some more time to heal and to learn behind them. It's not the typical situation where Joe Burrow gets drafted number one, your team wants him starting right from the get go. Um, Whoever drafts Tua has an excuse to sit him on the bench for at least half the season, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is the smart move. So I'm not if I draft him, I'm not expecting him to start right away, and I would really prefer for him not to start right away. but but I don't have Herbert in his class. I mean, this is still
Mhm.
like I don't buy into the left-handed stuff. Nobody doing it since Steve Young and Mike Vick and all that. This is a guy that we had, most people had as the number one pick in the NFL draft up until his injury this year. And I'm
Mhm.
not going to drop him that much, but we'll talk about him more in SuperFlex. I want to go over a couple more of these that we've picks that we've had. Um, we're at 306 now. Um, Going back up to the top, um, we see that Clyde Edwards-Helaire stayed right about where he was. There wasn't a lot of movement in that top 8 to 10. Um, we did see Justin Jefferson probably moved up a little bit into the first round from where he was a, a high
Mhm.
second round pick. Chenault dropped maybe a little bit. 112. He was probably up a couple picks ahead of that. But Mims is the big jump there. You just did a bunch of research, Taylor. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your article and you guys can find this article on RotoHeat.com. But what did you see in Mims that you really liked?
Well,
And and before you
if
can,
you first could pick Colin
yep,
Johnson for me, that'd be great.
yep,
Yeah. So what I did was, for those that haven't looked at the article yet, I spent way too much time gathering a lot of data. So I looked at fantasy receivers from 2014 to 2019, those that finished top 12 any season to get my data set, and then tried to look to see what are some trends we see as far as combine measurements we look at. So everyone talks about 40 times, and do they really matter? Do they not? Then, if you visited the player profile website, there's statistics on there as far as speed score, college dominator percentage. So I looked at all these different factors and tried to find what were some thresholds that some of these things we saw top receivers hit, and then of our incoming rookies who's promising. And so Mims was one that really popped out to me there as well. He didn't have any. None of his factors fell into below the thresholds we set, so he was one of the only receivers to do that. CeeDee Lamb was another one. Again, we don't have all the data we need for Tyler Johnson and Brian Edwards and things like that, but of the receivers we had data for, he was really impressive. And today was actually the first time I got a chance to look at his tape. And he's a very I think he's like a nuanced route runner that he knows what he's doing in his routes. And I think he could be someone that, because he knows what he's doing, can make an impact early on in the NFL too.
great information there. Love it. I missed another guy there, picking twice, and I missed him twice. Um, but yeah, I took Albert O. We seen Cole Kmet go. Um, that speed that Albert O has at his size is hard to ignore at the tight end position. I think he's a guy that's going to be asked to run routes more often than block, which is always great for your tight ends. The more routes they run, the more opportunity they get in fantasy. So I really like him. And then I took Justin Herbert, but I probably would have taken somebody else. And I'll let you know who that was when he gets drafted. Um, who else we need to talk about on this list that maybe went much higher? Because, I mean, we already talked about A.J. Dillon a little bit. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
obvious why he moved up. He excelled at a lot of different aspects of the combine. Um, what about AGG? I feel like he's a little bit earlier than he was uh, in the prior drafts too. Mr. Gandy Golden.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Um, I didn't think his numbers were as good as I had hoped they would be coming out. But again, I'm keeping in mind his size. So he's a bigger guy. I wouldn't expect him to be a blazer. I think draft capital is going to be big for him as to whether NFL teams look at him coming from a smaller school and the competition he went up against and kind of ding him for that, or whether they invest in him, maybe third round pick or something like that. I don't know if you guys heard Rick, I think you were talking about it in our Discord about Daniel Jeremiah. I think it was him on the combine saying up to 20 something
He
receivers could be
said
drafted first.
27 receivers in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
know. There's the guy that I missed, Ayuk.
Brandon.
I would have taken him instead of Herbert there. But yeah, I heard that and I immediately was like, did I just hear this right? Like this,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
am I going crazy? Because I swear that's what he said. And then you confirmed that, and I was like, holy shit! Like I knew this. There's a lot of good wide receivers in this draft
Hmm.
class. There are people tabbing this as the best wide receiver class of all time. We know how great 2014 was, but there's a lot of talent here. And I don't know if it's the best because I haven't been like this in depth with wide receiver classes for as long as some of these guys have been, but it's good and it might be the best that I've scouted.
Yeah, I was looking at our ADP on our website from our other drafts we've done to see who exactly had jumped high. Mims did go 13 today, and he was 28
Yeah, so
on average before. So
a round and a quarter he jumped.
yeah, yep.
Van Jefferson looks like somebody that dropped. He was going in the late second round
Um,
or early third?
yeah, he was pick 34, so early
Late
third.
late
No,
third.
late third.
So yeah, I guess
Oh, I
not
guess I'm
that
up.
much of a fall then.
Um,
Did Adam
let's
Trotman
see.
go before Hopkins in this draft?
Yes.
Yes. So
Hopkins.
is Hopkins dropping from his combine? A lot of people had him number one before the combine, and now Trotman's going ahead of him.
UD Pride, baby. Can you pick Isaiah Hodgins for me?
Isaiah Hodgins, yes.
Yes, please.
And then we got Robert for back-to-back picks. Um, yeah, if you guys are out there in the chats, drop any questions or opinions or whatever you want to talk about. Um, Definitely interested in what you guys are thinking. I did want to make some announcements. Um, so we had been using our live stream for our podcast, and it was a terrible experience for our listeners. So we are going to split that apart. We're going to start recording podcasts on Sunday night and trying to release those on Monday. And then the stream will stay the same. But also, next Tuesday on the stream, we have our first guest, Addison Hayes from DLF, is going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking some fantasy football with him. And then on the podcast,
Yep.
we've got, excuse me, um, David Willis from DLF joining us on a podcast here maybe this Sunday. And then we have Jake Trowbridge from the Drinking Fantasy Pod. I got to get this right. I'm going to check his profile right here. So I say this because I planned on doing it at the beginning of the episode, but we obviously had technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
things happen, man.
But
Hey, can you draft me Hopkins real quick? Sorry,
Hopkins, yes.
I didn't mean to jump into your plug here.
No, that's fine, man. We're keeping this moving. Oh no, I missed it by 1
Somebody needed
second.
to.
Well, while you're fixing that, I just wanted to. I was gonna add this.
Okay,
after
hold
your
on.
pick.
I'm going.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So Jake Trowbridge, he is an NFL contributor at RotoBaller, co-host of Drinking Fantasy, and also Fantasy Knuckleheads. So we've got those three guys lined up, and we would appreciate anybody else making sure to let Mr. Scott Fish know that he should come join us on a podcast or stream here soon. He put out a post that he wanted to join some more pods on Twitter. So let him know that he needs to come join us. A bunch of people already have. It's much appreciated. Most of it was, unsolicited. And then we started campaigning a little bit since we had some guys out there saying it. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. We're going to be switching some stuff up, but we're going to continue bringing you a bunch of content. Um, okay, Taylor, what did you want to say?
No, I was just gonna say I think we're pretty excited about getting some of these guests on, mixing things up a little bit on our formats here. But I think it would go a long way to just get our community support behind these podcasts and live streams that we're doing with these folks, just so that one, they think they believe it's worth their time to invest, because if they're great, we'd love to have them back in the future. So I just think it's a good opportunity for our community to really kind of get behind some of these guests and show them who RotoHeat is, since they probably haven't heard of us before. So
Damn,
And
he just basically threw us under the bus and like nobody knows who we are.
I knew when I said probably,
Rick,
I should have
Rick,
said
your
maybe.
pick was up.
Oh, my pick's up?
Now the timer expired.
What? See, and then Patrick, he knows what's going on. He's been in every one of these. Who did he just pick?
Quintez.
Guess
Says
what?
Cephas.
Just to do it. No.
And Matt over on our Facebook group said, "Thanks for getting back to the pods. Way easier for me to listen at work." So
Yeah.
always,
Don't
Matt,
blame-
glad we could help.
Well, I'll take Cephas for him. Oh, dang it. Now I gotta reload because it took him out of the list. Yeah, I don't go back and listen to our stuff, and I did a couple of them, and I was like, this is like, this is bad. We're torturing people by going this route. And like I told somebody on Twitter, somebody said, "Man, I'm glad you guys figured that out." And I said,
We should have said something.
well, I said, sometimes you try to kill two birds with one stone and end up hitting yourself in the face. Like, we were trying to knock out both in one, and make it so everybody could easily tune in and whatnot, but it did not work, and I have no problem admitting that. We've tried a bunch of stuff that hasn't worked, and we're going to continue trying stuff to try to add value to all of our followers. So, some of it's going to work, some of it's not, and when it does, great. When it doesn't, we'll figure out a different way.
Ultimately, we will be honest, and that's the big deal.
Absolutely. So before this draft ends, and just so everybody knows, we will immediately go empty this draft out. I just got to copy the draft list, and then we will start the SuperFlex draft right afterwards. It'll be fun to talk about the differences between where people are drafted in this one and where guys go. Um, so that'll be fun. Um, I don't know why MFL, their main page, man, their main page, I go to it and it's all like messed up. Um,
All right.
but yeah, after Brad picks here, don't go anywhere. It won't take us long. I'll get this all figured out. If you're drafting, just stay in the draft room.
Hey, I was able to get logged in, so my picks are going to be smooth.
What? I mean, you're acting like I messed something up.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say you messed something up, but I did get 2 emails. And I was clicking on the link for the second email, and that's why it kept saying I wasn't logged in. And so I went back to my email and opened another one. But what's Player FM app, Robert? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it.
Robert over in the draft chat, Rick said, "Got to get the RotoHeat podcast on the Player FM app."
I will look into that. I will look into that for sure. I don't know what it is either. What is it? Is it new?
I don't know. I use Google Podcasts, so I don't know.
I use Apple Podcasts or Spotify, so I don't know.
But if you want it, We'll try.
Yeah, if you want it, we'll do our best for sure. I think right now we're on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, Google, uh, yeah, Stitcher.
Yep. Yeah, I think as you mentioned before, going to the podcast, kind of separating podcasts and live stream will be beneficial for a number of reasons. I think they both just have different flows. They have different like atmosphere around it. So a live stream is a lot easier to kind of, for lack of a better term, get distracted and go off on tangent type of things, which is fun when you're interacting with people that are, giving their comments and things like that, and you can in real time answer questions. And but if you go back to listen to those, it seems a little choppier. And so I think kind of splitting them up, and for the people like, sorry, I forget who said, Michael, did he say he wanted a podcast so he could listen at work?
Matt Clayton.
Matt Clayton,
Matt Clayton.
who has
Yeah,
been
Matt.
with RotoHeat since day one.
Yeah, I think that'll be beneficial for people that, because I know I listen to podcasts when I'm sitting at my desk, even if I'm not listening super closely, I've got something in my ear playing. So it's a free app with 60 podcasts pulling to it, one app on my phone. Huh.
I have no idea who drafted where last time. I'm just going with it. Everybody that's in the draft, go ahead and refresh. I will fix this pick that was messed up. But refresh because Jarko's not number one anymore. I wasn't number one.
Yeah, it
Well,
moved
that
me
one's
from
easy. I'll do it because it's obvious who's number one in SuperFlex anyway. So um, every one of us was gonna make the same pick, I think. And if you weren't, you're fired.
I was going to draft Darius guys here.
Curtis, how you doing? You guys are pretty quiet tonight, though. We've got a bunch of people watching, but you guys are pretty quiet out there.
Ooh, I like that. Three
Uh,
quarterbacks to kick things off in a super flex.
Paul, I'll get it posted here soon. I apologize. I didn't see your comment. I would have scrolled through it.
Yeah, I said that on Facebook. Don't worry. Paul's good.
I mean,
So we had a first three picks here in the super flex go quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. So that'll be interesting to see how that makes the rest of what kind of value falls down later into the first
I'm
round.
wondering why that's still showing that draft order. Is this the one? I need to reload this one, I suppose. Okay.
The people demand more Brad. Patrick, you're the man.
Yes, I mean, like I said, we're gonna do everything that we can to give you guys the best content possible the way you want it. So we don't have a problem with you telling us what you would like to see. So yeah, so Taylor, I think we cut you off there. You were talking about the three
No,
quarterbacks.
you're good. Yeah, I was just saying it's an interesting start to a super flex to have three quarterbacks go in the first three picks to see what kind of value that pushes down. Because I think as I'm in some super flex leagues with late first round picks, I'm more excited about those than I am my late first round picks in one quarterback leagues, because that value might get pushed down, especially depending on if Herbert goes really early to a good situation, he might get drafted early. Like here, he went number 3, and you might end up getting someone like J.K. Dobbins or Jonathan Taylor or something like that at 7, 8, 9, something like that, which would just be potentially outrageous value.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this a lot, and people you have to remember in super flex drafts, rookie drafts, if you're not gonna take a pick, if I had a top 3 pick in a super flex and I wasn't going quarterback, like if I let's say I already had 3 starters, I'm do not do not draft somebody else in those spots. Trade out, let somebody pay up for that, get some extra value, and maybe get an extra first on it or something if you can, and get the extra value and let somebody else pay for those quarterbacks. Um, but I think that's what I would be doing because especially if I can move back to like 106, 107 range. All those running backs and receivers that I can get at that spot, I feel pretty good about. So that extra value instead of picking a running back or wide receiver in the top 3 spots in SuperFlex, I feel like I can get a lot of extra on top of that instead of taking that pick. Thoughts? Or are you guys playing Fortnite?
Sorry, I'm trying to draft right now.
No, I'm watching. I'm
trying to
watching
do my job.
Brad picks closely, so very focused on this draft here. No, I don't disagree with that. I've actually I don't know if I should be embarrassed to admit it. I'm in my first Superflex league that started last year, so I've only played Superflex 1 year. So this will be my first Superflex rookie draft coming up. So that is a little different for me. So I don't really know what to expect. I don't have any top 2 or 3 picks in those 2 leagues, but I have no idea what to expect in those leagues to see like what kind of value falls down and where you're taking quarterbacks. But I think what you're saying makes sense as far as there's going to be people that need quarterbacks because that's a key position, obviously, to fill in Superflex. And if you don't have your starters locked down, someone is going to pay up to get that. So Jordan Love, wow, I like it.
I like that pick.
I like Jordan Love. I don't know that he'll get much love this year, but long term,
wow, good.
I think he's gonna end up a first round NFL pick, which is gonna make him a
Well,
first round.
I know, but
Dynasty,
I mean, like, I don't
Superflex
think
pick.
he's probably going to play early. Do you guys think he has a chance to see the field this year?
I honestly think that Burrow is the only one that I would start right off the bat. I think every other rookie in this class I would have sit behind a vet for at least half the season and then maybe give them an opportunity. Kind of like what Washington tried to do with Haskins last year, even though that didn't really, that whole Washington situation didn't really work out. But yeah, I think that's what I would do with all of them. So uh, I definitely like Love if you can get him at the 112 and rookie Superflex drafts, unless something happens and he doesn't go till the 3rd or 4th. And
I mean, I think it's probably for the NFL draft. Do you think it's a lock to get 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round, maybe 5? Someone sneaking in late first to get extra 5th-year option on the rookie contract. I think that's what the Ravens did with Lamar, right?
yeah.
I think I think you could see someone sneak in there and maybe reach on one of these rookie quarterbacks late to push it to like 5 or something in the first round.
Oh, and I got a Jason over in our Facebook group said Love ahead of Hurts is interesting to him. Do you guys have any thoughts on Hurts over Love? Do you like him?
Well, first we have to be careful
I was
because
gonna say
the Hurts Love on YouTube about got us virtually stabbed, because a lot of people were not happy with the low grade that he got from the RotoHeat team. 1 second here.
so-called experts. Jeez.
I need to. I haven't been paying attention, so I have to make sure I don't miss somebody this time. Who should?
Paul says 4 is probably a lock. Fromm, I think, makes it 5. If New England doesn't take Fromm, I'd be surprised.
That regardless of whether Brady stays or not.
I think that Brady being there can't change their draft strategy if they need it. They need a quarterback no matter what.
Well, I don't think it should, but I'm just thinking about how Brady wants weapons, and would they do not something stupid? I mean, I think there would be value there to have, but are they going to go get a receiver that they think could start day one to pair up with Nikhil or something? Not that I would make that move, but
well, how many receivers do you think go in the first round?
Receivers, I'd say like 5, maybe 6.
6. So that means there's 21 left in the next 2 rounds for them to take.
No, that's true. But you would assume the ones you're taking in the first round are better than the ones you're taking in the third round. But
no, I don't disagree, but I think I just think if the quarterbacks go that fast, they can't. They've been relying on that later round quarterback pick forever, and I mean, other than I guess Garoppolo and Brissett got them some value back, but they just don't have that guy, and they probably don't. I mean, how many years are they going to sign Brady for if they sign him? I honestly don't think he's going to be back there, but
yeah, it seems.
I think they will actually.
I think he's gone.
Well, and if you listen to guys that are close to Brady, like Jeff Darlington and some of those guys, they're surprised if he stays. They all think he's going too. So it seems like there's a lot of smoke about him leaving New England. So I would ride that side of the train.
I think he's loving it,
I'll be
and
waving from the other side, Brad.
I don't remember who I was listening to. I was actually watching YouTube videos, and I don't remember if it was PFT or um, if it was the Pat McAfee show, but they were talking about how a lot of people think it's um, the fact that Belichick, like, he's not going to be like, we need you. And at this point, like, Tom Brady feels like they should feel that way. And you know how Belichick is. And it's kind of a butting heads type of deal. I like what Patrick just said because both those shows I was talking about talked about how much sense Tennessee makes with Vrabel and what, everybody's talking about that conversation. Craig, wake up. He probably fell asleep. Dang it. Who we taking?
KJ Hill.
No. Michael
It's a
Pittman.
punishment.
Michael Pittman right in front of Brad in case he was going to take him.
You monster.
But they were talking about how it was Vrabel that Edelman and Brady were on the phone with at that game where Edelman was saying he was coming back and whatnot. And just that connection makes sense. If you're Tennessee, who would you rather hitch your wagon to, Tannehill or Brady for 2 years? Let's just say it's 2 years. Who would you rather hitch your wagon to?
Well, I mean, for me, I would probably lean Tannehill because of
I would too.
he needed to make moves with his feet plenty of times last year, and Brady can't do that. I mean, like
Brady gets the
once
ball
every
out fast though. Let's not forget
Brady
that.
will get the ball out fast for sure. But for me, it seems like that Tannehill really fit what they were doing. Like,
I
why isn't
just
that
kind of
a good
think
fit?
that like when it comes to Tom Brady, a lot of people are like in their minds thinking 2007 Tom Brady. Like a lot of people just think he's the GOAT. It's Tom Brady, which for some franchises like the Raiders, like would it make sense for you to go get someone that like isn't going to propel you to a Super Bowl probably if the rest of your team isn't great, but hey, he's going to be the face of your franchise as you move to a new city. That makes plenty of sense, sure. But if I'm trying to make a Super Bowl run, I mean, don't get me wrong, the experience and leadership and all that's important, but like at this stage of his career, like I don't know. He's not someone that I'm like, if I get him, I become a Super Bowl contender. And to me, the difference in skill level right now between him and Tannehill really isn't that large of a gap.
Okay, so this was something that I love listening to these ex players talking about this stuff. So I love listening to Pat McAfee, and one of the things that he said was it's not just what Tom Brady does on the field, it's the culture that he brings, it's the winning mentality that he brings that makes the rest of the team better. And when I really got thinking about it, how many times have we looked at that Patriots roster and been like they don't have the names that you would think would propel them to a Super Bowl. And part of that's Belichick and the game plan and everything else, but they've got that winning mindset. They've got the way they go about the game. And if taking the Patriot way and having somebody that everybody's going to buy into when they come into the locker room, I think adds another value. Um, but we're also talking about a guy that hasn't had a very good run game, hasn't had a good offensive line. You're talking about not being able to move. That offensive line for the Patriots was not good. Um, and then a lack of talent, especially at the receiver group. Basically, his entire career there. I mean, he had the Randy Moss stretch and whatnot, but um, you know, Branch was the leading receiver at one point, and Edelman came out of nowhere, and Welker came out of nowhere, and uh, we I think people forget like he's been making stuff out of these less talented guys. I see
Oh,
Tennessee;
shoot.
they've got a decent offensive line. They've got talent. I don't see why that team wouldn't want him and that mentality in there. I mean, it would be different if you had like another guy on the market that was like a no doubt about it guy, but you don't have that. I mean, there's nobody in that quarterback market that you like really want to. I mean, I guess unless Dak would not get franchised and hit the free agent market.
Do you want to recap last round or so? Any major? I mean, I see a lot of comments in the draft chat on MFL of guys that are falling great values. Brian Edwards going at 307, McFarland dropping to Anthony McFarland at 310. So I think what we talked about earlier, you're seeing that value of position players later into drafts as Rick looks intently at his draft list.
Well,
all those quarterbacks shooting up definitely pushed a lot of guys around, which was interesting.
Well, I mean, that's SuperFlex. That's always going to happen, but it is funny seeing the difference. Like if you didn't even factor the quarterbacks in, the different viewpoints. It's still divisive. It's not. This is SuperFlex, Trevor. Jeudy is not probably going to fall to 106 in most 1 QB drafts. 3 quarterbacks went ahead of him, so really you could say he's the 103 in this one. But I think this is still a very divisive class. I don't think people have it figured out. I'm not one that's going to overvalue the combine or landing spots. Like I like my guys. I hadn't watched a lot of Mims stuff because he hadn't come up in our ratings yet, and so he moved up just based on numbers and the little bit that I watched, but it was somebody I was unfamiliar with. I know a lot of people were down on Rager because he didn't run a sub 4.4, but I don't care. When I watch him play, he plays fast, and the 40 is not going to matter for him. Now, when you see somebody like Albert run the 40 he ran at his size.
Albert who?
Albert O. Bunam. I'm just going to call him Albert Bunam. But, you know, you've seen the flashes on tape for Albert, but it just shows upside at a guy that you're going to get in the 3rd round. So I'm not like moving him way up the board, but I like him more than I did before. I'm just not going to pay a crazy price, but I love the upside in that range.
I think it'll be interesting, some of the guys that didn't test. So, and I know we already talked about Tyler Johnson, Brian Edwards, but like we got KJ Hamler just went at 408. I think it'll be interesting when you see pro days occur in some numbers, because those are always a little inflated from combine as well. If some of theyese guys will jump up, you'll see a KJ Hamler who's projected to run fast, comes in 0.02 of a second faster than he would have at the combine. Whether that starts boosting him up boards, not to 1st round status, but I mean going from the 4th to maybe the early 3rd or something.
So I don't disagree with you there at all. One of my questions is this, right? So Mr. T. Higgins, did you see his quote?
Yeah.
We're talking about a Wonderlic test, and people asking if the Wonderlic test is a valuable way to did Robert pick? Yeah. To gauge the intelligence of guys. Now, when somebody says, I've only had a month and these guys have had 4 to 5 weeks, so they're way ahead of me, is that a slip up because he's maybe not used to the press, or is that bad math, or what? I mean, I don't know. That's a quote that's like
I think it's a bad excuse. Like, I think he probably didn't run because he was worried about where he might test out against some of these other athletes and how it might hurt him. But instead of saying that, he came up with a real bad excuse.
Okay, but my point is that he said, I've only had a month, and these guys have had 4 to 5 weeks, which is a month.
Correct.
That's the part.
It was like off the top of his head, you know?
That's what I'm asking.
That's what I think.
That's what I'm asking. Is this a sign of intelligence of lack thereof, or is this one of them like, oh shit, they're putting a mic in my face? I mess up on here all the time, and it's not like we have like a million people are gonna hear about it. But I was wondering. I've never heard him talk. I don't think. But I seen that quote and I was just like, that's not a good look when you're not gonna when you're not gonna test.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, you know. I'm gonna go back to what Taylor was saying a minute ago about, and we were talking about guys bouncing around when it comes to draft position. I really think because of how divisive things are, we really won't see a lot of clarity until the actual NFL draft. Once that happens, then I think things will really start to come into focus for a lot of these guys because it's not like we changed who our drafters were. These 10 guys drafted in both these mocks, and they're all over the place. To T. Higgins, these are kids. I mean, unfortunately, you're asking kids to do some things that, you know, I mean, listen to kids all the time. They're not always
Brad,
on
you're
point, you
making
know.
the point right now. You can't even talk, and we've got like less than 20 people watching. So I'm not saying that this is. I'm just it could
Yeah,
be,
I'm just
and
saying
it's
that, you
not a
know,
good
it,
look.
it
Like if he would have
definitely
went out
is.
and tested real well, and then made some sort of quip like that, then it nobody would be talking about it. But the fact that he didn't do anything, and that's all they've got to go off of. It's made it a bigger thing than it probably needs to be.
For sure.
Also, he is a sports communication major, so I don't maybe not emphasis on communication.
Oh, that hurts a little bit more. There's a little bit more of a sting there, knowing that he was a sport. I'm sure he didn't go to class a lot, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure none of them
Uh,
do, unless they're like,
Benjamin fell to 502 here,
what do you mean
which
fell?
is
Did you mean
I
rolled?
think he was I think he was the third round in the one we just did, wasn't he?
I don't know if he went that high or not. I've got it right here. Eno. 402.
402.
So
Okay.
around exactly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he rolled down a little bit. Um, back to what you were saying, Brad. I just, I hope people, like if you love Denzel Mims, I hope people don't drop him if he doesn't go to the perfect scenario. And, you know, I've been trying to write an article on landing spots being overvalued, um, but I haven't had the time to finish it. But we got to remember, man, last year, all summer long, all we heard was A.J. Brown's career screwed because he got drafted by the Tennessee Titans. And the dude dropped. He probably should have been a top 4 or 5 pick in the draft in rookie drafts last year. Maybe even the first wide receiver, but people hated that landing spot, and he dropped to the last part of the rookie drafts and was a great value for anybody that got him. We look at Christian McCaffrey on a bad Panthers team that was like 26th in scoring, led all scorers in fantasy by almost 100 points. You can put up fantasy points on bad teams. We saw it, wide receivers, Hopkins, early in his career with the Schaubs and the Hoyers and all that quarterback carousel in Houston before Watson got there. We saw one of the best seasons that I've seen from a wide receiver was with Brandon Weeden and Brian Hoyer throwing to Josh Gordon. Don't.
Thought we'd make it through a stream without mentioning Josh
I'm
Gordon.
just saying that the fantasy
Just
points were
kidding.
there. The fantasy points were there, and you can score fantasy points on a bad team. You can score them with a bad quarterback. I mean, Allen Robinson was number 8 last year with the worst quarterback in the league. If they've got talent, they can score points. So don't let it affect you too much. I think people put too much value into it, and I know draft stock matters because people get a chance, but I mean, we're looking at, Penny was fighting with a seventh round pick and couldn't beat him out. Ronald Jones fighting with Peyton Barber, couldn't beat him out. Josh Rosen was traded after 1 year after being a top 15 pick, and then benched for a 40-year-old free throwing Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think the NFL is going in a direction where it's a shorter leash for these high picks. And just because if you don't like them, like I drafted zero Rashad Penny and Ronald Jones because I didn't like them. And I think that people have to remember that just because, and both of them look like good spots. So I think people just got to remember, like, if you like the talent, don't let the draft. Now, obviously, if they get drafted, if a running back gets drafted behind Christian McCaffrey, like that blows. Like you're not going to get any action unless McCaffrey gets hurt, or the guys that liked Pollard last year when he ends up behind Zeke, like it's Zeke's backfield. Those
Daryl
things.
Henderson still breaks my heart.
Daryl Henderson and
Loved Daryl Henderson last year.
and those situations suck. You can knock them for that, but just simply because a team's bad is a bad reason to drop a guy in value. A lot of times that can be a benefit because, especially at wide receiver, garbage time's garbage time. And I just think a lot of people do that, and I would rather look at that talent. And I like the whole process of pre-combine, post-combine, then pre-draft and post-draft, because you get to see like who you liked from the beginning and who's dropping because of either they didn't run the fastest 40 that people thought they were going to run, and then they didn't get drafted into the perfect spot, and then those guys end up being values when it comes draft time.
Mm-hmm.
Checking. Okay, so Patrick didn't make his pick. He's fired. And then I have to make mine. So who are we taking with these last two picks here? I don't know if anybody got missed on the board or
Yeah, a couple of those tight ends you could take.
Tight end.
The interesting thing, I think in both drafts, like a guy like DJ Dallas, who was drafted in our previous mocks prior to the combine, he's fallen off, which I think is interesting.
I saw Shea Patterson was drafted before. I'm looking at our old one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if did you see any of
Here's a
his
guy.
combine drills?
What happened to this guy? And maybe Paul can explain this one because I know he was a Van Jefferson fanboy in our pre-combine mocks, and I just took him because I don't know who else to take, and we're gonna end up in that draft. But if you're out there and there's anything that you want to comment before we end this, go ahead and drop that in the chat, and we'll get to it. But Patrick says he wants Cephas again. Good. I can not take him. But what happened to Jefferson, Paul? He says, I don't know how he didn't get picked. Oh, dang it. I didn't go back far enough. Does anybody know? Like, did he test? Did
I was just looking up his info.
Well, say something. I'm talking to myself over here.
Trying to get there. I'm like,
Because I haven't watched a lot of Jefferson. I've been going off of what Paul said. He's he didn't test because he has a broken foot.
He didn't. I don't see anything here. So yeah.
No, he didn't test. I mean,
Okay.
I'm also looking. It's kind of interesting. He'll be
24.
He'll be 24.
Jesus.
Before the season starts.
All right, Hayden Hurst.
God.
Oh man.
Yeah.
These guys got kids that are almost about to be playing college football. You were gonna say something, Taylor?
No, I was looking. When I see someone that is older, an older prospect, especially wide receiver,
Yeah, I definitely
I
don't
like
want him now.
I like to look at that breakout age area too, because you would hope that they were able to dominate competition that they're older than. But he's got a 15th percentile
He's 5 years
breakout.
older than Juju was entering the league.
Yeah, yeah. So no thanks. I mean, not that I wouldn't draft him solely for that, but you know, injury, no workout metrics. I'm good. I'll take a flyer on Jed Anderson just because I enjoyed watching his tape.
Yeah, that's one that I wanted to talk about. A bunch of people were talking about this dude like running a 4.3, and what did he run? Like a
4.61.
4.61? Like,
Yeah.
is he injured? Like, how did it that's a big gap.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because like when I watched this tape, I didn't see like, oh, that's like a 4.4 guy. I didn't think he looked slow, but like it wasn't obvious when I watched it, so I was interested to see, what he would actually run when he got a chance, and it was not pretty.
Yeah, that because we hurried up and we were trying to put together a video because like Twitter was going nuts about this dude that's about to run a sub 4.4 at running back coming out of TCU. Changed his name to Jet Anderson.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm wondering if something was going on there because I had found an article when we were doing research on him and stuff, and it was through like a TCU website or something like that. And granted, you take it with a grain of salt, but they said that he had Jet Anderson mentioned he had a 42-inch vertical. He'd run a 4.38 40 before. So I was expecting numbers to be somewhere in that range, not necessarily beat that. But that was an article from 2018. So I was thinking, okay, he'll run somewhere around there. So the 4.61 was like not anywhere what I was expecting.
so what is he on the Eddie Lacy diet or something? Because that's a big gap from saying you're gonna run a 4.38, unless you're just completely talking out your ass. That's a huge gap. Huge gap.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I'm looking at his combine measurements. He actually weighed in just later than what was referenced in this article. So
what?
he didn't put on a ton of weight and then bulk up and not be able to run. He actually is like he's right around the same weight, a little bit less. So
It's just
yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting.
no, not after everything I seen. If you're gonna change your name to Jet, and there's rumors of you running a sub 4.4, like you better bring it. Did not
Maybe
bring
he
it.
meant Jets Pizza. Like maybe it's in honor of pizza.
Okay. Yeah.
He's trying to get sponsorship already.
I didn't yell at anybody. I haven't yelled at
That's
anybody. I've
that's all.
told guys this whole time to take the guys you like because I don't know all of them. I was probably giving you shit. I wasn't really yelling at you. You're the guy that said you were picking guys to try to fit the ADP norm. Um, but yeah, I didn't. I don't know, man. If your name's Jet, you better run faster than a 4.61.
Well,
Unless
what
you were
about some?
unless you were born with the name Jet, then you don't really have much of a choice. But if you change your name at the NFL Combine, and
Yeah.
that's what your
I
card
mean,
says,
didn't Jarek McKinnon wanted to go by Jet, or that was his nickname or something? I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was. He ran a 4.41, so it's like you can get away with that. Yeah.
yeah. We have a
Well, what
question over on
about?
YouTube. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Brad.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Silver Sports says, here's a question. I've seen fantasy folks questioning Dobbins' athletic ability because he didn't test. Isn't that an overreaction for a guy who has the best spark score out of high school?
Yes. I think it's an overreaction because I guess it depends on how far people are docking him. It's the same thing with any of these receivers. So if you watched T. Higgins and loved what he did and his production, I don't think. I mean, he might get surpassed by a couple of receivers that did test and do great things. So I think if people had Dobbins as their number one running back, and then Jonathan Taylor dominates the combine, Cam Akers has a good combine, maybe you drop him to 2 or 3. But I can't imagine people should be moving him too much. I again, we'll see pro day coming up, what he's able to do this month. But unless he completely bombs that, I don't think there's really anything that shows concerns around his athleticism. I didn't see athletic concerns watching him either.
Oh, and I mean, if you're going to dock a guy like that, then you have to go back and look at some of these other guys. Like I was going to mention, what about all these receivers that ran blazing fast 40s? Like Quez Watkins, who ran a 4.35, or Darnell Mooney, who ran a 4.3. Like, so what? Just because they can run fast straight, what does that really mean? I mean, that should make you go, okay, well, let me go check the tape again. Is there something that I missed? And if you think of a guy like Taylor's talking about with Dobbins, the tape makes you go, oh, okay, well, who cares about these scores? Because on the football field, the dude's a beast,
And that's why I love that Bruce Arians comment of you can run a 4.4 but play like a 4.6 on the field, and you can run a 4.6 but play like a 4.4 on the field. That's what a lot of people don't factor in is that, and that's why like the people, and I don't understand it, but there's people on Twitter that are like, yeah, Rager wasn't what I thought he was. And I'm like, dude, watch him play, and he's fast. That's what matters, is that he makes decisions. Quick decisions on the football field is what matters, right?
Right.
It's not, oh, cool, this dude can run really fast in a straight line, because you're not, like, how often are you going to run in a straight line in an NFL game? I mean, unless you're John Ross or Will Fuller, not very often,
It's the best because you're
you
hurt.
know?
Yeah, Rieger's one of those guys where his toughness was the thing that made me love him first. Because I think one of his first games I watched was maybe Oklahoma State. Like the dude got hurt like on every play, and he'd just come out and come right back in and keep going. Like the guy is tough as nails. And then you watch the rest of his tape. He's good at running routes and all these things. I'm like, I don't care what his scores are. His tape tells me that this dude's a good receiver. So
I mean, it's not like 4.47 slow either, but people
yeah.
expected a 4.3 something and didn't get it, and then they freak out, and it's like, dude, like that's
Right.
such a small, like, I don't know, and I brought him up just because I think he's one of the top guys that, well, okay, what about Chenault?
Getting hurt again.
Well,
That
that too, but
he's hurt like every week.
his time.
It
Yeah,
wasn't good. It definitely didn't bode well for him, and we saw it in our mocks today.
I
He
agree,
fell a little
Alex.
bit.
Alex said Rager tested good on other drills. I agree, but and that's why I always stress to people, like, don't overvalue that 40.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, but yeah, Chenault. What was his time? Because I don't remember. I remember it was slower than I expected.
4.58.
4.58, which I don't mind at his
At his
size
size,
and
no.
the way that he plays, because I don't think I didn't really ever view him as a guy that was going to be a real deep threat. I see him more as a playmaker that you get in open space and let him use he's got like a running back ability after he catches the ball. And I thought our run after catch, yards after catch was super low in our grade, and I was like, what? This dude is like a running back, and I compared him to Golden Tate just because of that running ability after the catch, because Golden Tate was a running back before he was a wide receiver, and that's why he was always so good at it. But I feel like if in the right system, I do think he is a guy that has to be used correctly. He can't be used for, he's not going to beat guys long, so you got to get him in open space and more slants and stuff for him to win. But at his size and the way he plays, I didn't. What's the word I'm looking for? I didn't mind the 40 time as much as I think a lot of people did. Even though it was slower than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to be faster than that.
Oh, but did he run? Did he get hurt after he ran the 40, or was he hurt and then ran the 40?
He was already hurt, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if that's really I mean, that can't be a valid 40 time if the dude's already hurt.
Well, and that's the other thing is that I mean I don't know that if I was like if I was running the 40 for the combine and I ran slower than everybody thought, I'd be like, dude, tell him I was hurt. Tell him I was
Well,
hurt.
except
I'll
he's
get it again
surgery.
at pro day.
Well, that's the interesting
I
thing
think
is so
it's
many guys decided to not do a lot of the drills because they just didn't feel like it. Like there was
the
quite a few guys.
the 3-cone drill was what a ton of receivers dropped out of, and like I can't imagine that the DK Metcalf stuff from last year was not at least somewhat in the back of some of their minds, especially these bigger receivers that aren't going to win with their short area agility like that. I mean, he was mocked as a potential top 10 NFL draft pick. That whole fiasco happens, and he ends up last pick of the second round, or second to last pick of the second round. I wouldn't take the chance either if I wasn't confident in it. At least let people not have that data point and just grade you off of your play and stuff like that. So I think we might see more players dropping out of drills that they think could hurt their status.
And the interesting thing is there was a few guys that I heard mention when I, on my podcasts and stuff that the combine is more important for teams to interview players and check medicals than it is to see them do on-field work. You got all the college footage. You know what they do when they're put in live game action. Like it seems like the combine, they may be, I could see it validated with the fact that they moved it to prime time instead of having it during the day. Like the NFL may just be trying to bump it up just to get people excited about something football related in the off season. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes the numbers matter, sometimes they don't. For some of these guys, I mean, like, it validates some things, and then other guys it makes you okay. Well, let me go check the tape. That wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, I don't know.
Paul doesn't think it matters. Paul doesn't think it matters with Chenault.
Yeah, but
he says at this point it doesn't matter when he got.
Did you read below that though?
Oh, but agree, but he got hurt again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the injuries, but I don't even know if he's really hurt. Like what I'm saying is that if he ran a slower time,
is he really hurt? Was it just?
I would if I ran a time slower than people expected, I would tell whoever my team is, whether it's my agent or a friend or whoever's there, like, dude, tell him I hurt something. I don't know if he's really hurt or not, but that's what I would do.
He's having surgery, so I think he's hurt.
Is he? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so
is he having surgery?
Maybe he's
4 to 6 weeks.
Maybe he's got a doctor. Okay, well that's different then because I didn't know that. I didn't see that he was having surgery. I just knew that he had been hurt. So
darn it happened today, by the way, by Dr. William Myers in Philadelphia. We could have actually called the doctor's office and tried to confirm this. We do our due diligence.
Is this a draft ploy? Is this a draft ploy? Because I really think it's a draft ploy. I need pictures of him cut open. We would be able to sell that stuff to TMZ and bump up the RotoHeat marketing budget a little bit. We gotta keep an eye on that stuff, right? We gotta keep an eye on that stuff. Oh man, what other questions we got? Silver Sports says Rager weighed in at 206, was listed at 195 at TCU.
I did see somebody say they were wondering if he would slim down a little bit before his pro day, back down to his playing weight, and if that would impact his time a little bit.
You talking about Chenault?
Rager.
Yeah, I'm sure if he was actually playing at 195, that's my thing is that like I haven't seen this guy like in person to notice that he's bigger than he was. You know what I mean?
I can pull up his address if we should go check on him.
Well, if we're gonna get into this stuff, then we're gonna have to really have to put on our private investigation hats. But my thing is, I don't know. He could have weighed the same at the end of the season, even though the card at TCU might have said something different. But but I don't know. And it's hard to tell with some of these guys when they have pads on unless they change like drastically. Like looking at Cordarrelle Patterson from his rookie year to now, like you can tell there's a difference. Um, but uh, but yeah, I don't know about all that. Any other questions out there? See, this is why we're splitting up the stream and the podcast, because we like to engage with you guys, and that's where we really get dinged when it comes to the stream or to the podcast, because the people listening are just like, shut up. Quit asking people if they have questions. I can't ask you one.
Join the community and you can.
I wouldn't violate HIPAA. I'm going to be an unnamed source, and I didn't sign anything.
Yeah. It would be
Only Rick and Paul are going to get that deep in the weeds.
it would
The
be
rest
the
of us are joking.
receptionist giving us the information that's breaking HIPAA laws, not us. We can ask all we want.
Yeah.
If they give it to us, they're the ones breaking the laws.
Undrafted. He wants to see
And then we leak it.
undrafted players. Ahmed came in really slow, didn't he?
Oh yeah, Salvin. Yeah.
Oh, I can't. That's not where I scroll. I don't remember which one's which. Is it scrolling? I've got multiple screens up here, and I don't know which one.
Yeah, he ran a 4.62.
JJ Taylor's still on the board. That's another guy that YouTube has completely hammered us about our assessment on him.
They like him?
Yeah, well,
yeah, they love him.
They love him. He's the next
Okay.
Tariq Cohen, and one guy's like, I was his strength manager at Arizona. He's a good kid. He's really strong, and somebody said you gotta watch him live. I'm like, well, it's a little hard to do now before the draft. No more games, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could become like a Cohen light, maybe, but I think Cohen's even stronger than what JJ Taylor appeared on tape. So, like, he was your typical slippery, good burst and acceleration type of player, but, like, I don't think I saw one time he broke a tackle, was able to hold a block. Those types of things that I think will just limit his effectiveness and ability to stay on the field in the NFL. So, I mean, yeah, I guess if someone like thrust him into the Tariq Cohen type role and said, "You are our main pass catching back," maybe he could be productive. But what did he weigh in at the combine? Do we know?
Let's see.
I do want to say, P.S. It's all about sports over on YouTube. Welcome to the stream. He said he is late to the stream. He just found us. He was watching a video from last week, and that we work good together. So he subscribed, and we appreciate that. And we're going to keep pumping out content every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be live streaming different topics. Next week we have Addison Hayes from Dynasty League Football (DLF) joining us. So make sure to tune in next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Brad, you were getting ready to say something, I think?
Yeah, J.J. Taylor was 5'5", 185 pounds.
Yeah, I'm out. Gosh.
Oh, what's Cohen?
I think what is he, 5'9"?
I think he's 5'9", right? And 190?
Well, I've got him 5'6", 179.
Oh yeah, 5'6", 179.
Whoa, he's even smaller?
The internet's saying. Yeah. Well, he's an inch taller. I wish I was a little bit taller.
I wish I was a baller.
And these guys are for some reason.
We're going to get dinged for copyright infringement now because we were so, we nailed that so good that they're going to be like, copyright hit.
These Skilo fools are out of here.
We, Tariq Cohen's nickname coming into the league was Human Joystick. Way before he even came into the league, he had the backflip catch two balls video that came out. Like, this dude is an uber athlete, and he's small, but he's so like he shifts in such a way that it's impossible to grab him. But
Shifted himself out of fantasy value last year.
do what?
He said he shifted himself out of fantasy value last year.
Well, we can go
Well,
on about we can go on about how bad that Bears offense was, but I don't want to because it hurts my feelings, and I would like to sleep well tonight. I've already had a rough week. It's hard to believe it's only Tuesday. Um, yeah, but it's funny because they were all saying that, and then J.J. Taylor ran a 4.61.
he definitely was jet level fast.
Like, how does this guy even carry his pads? How many times? How many did he lift?
Bro, do you even lift? I don't know what to say.
He's lifting 40 more pounds than he weighs, so let's see how many he
He
got.
did not. He did 19 reps.
Really?
Yeah.
12th
So,
best.
that guy, that strength coordinator, did a good job. That was talking to us on YouTube.
Well done. 34.5-inch vert, 118-inch broad, 7.03 cone's not bad, and a 415 20-yard shuttle. So the numbers aren't terrible, other than the 40-yard dash really should have been like, 4.4, like 4.4 something.
Paul, I lost a big client. I lost a big client on Monday, so it has been a bad week so far.
Give me their address. I can find them.
I'm
gotta
sure they're
hustle.
gonna be like, "Oh God, this Taylor guy is so crazy. I gotta go back and."
Why is this kid flexing on us and playing Fortnite?
We tried to start early tonight and make sure everything was dialed in, but Taylor was, "Oh my gosh, there's only 7 of us left in Fortnite. I never win," and couldn't get off of Fortnite, so
If anyone listening
delayed
wants
us.
to play,
And
find me out there. Corn
I
Dog
blame
03.
Did you say
I blame
corn dog?
him.
Corn Dog. That's DAWG, Brad. Corn
Okay.
Dog 003.
I blame him, but we had
It was
technical
really all of us.
difficulties. Really,
It was all of us.
we had technical difficulties for sure. Do we have any more questions out there? We'll go ahead and end this Tuesday night episode and get you guys ready for the remember podcast Dynasty Heat Seekers. You can find it on about anywhere except for Player FM. Apparently, we're gonna work on getting it there. You can. I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Now he's talking Call of Duty up there, and
Who's that? Who's talking
Paul.
about? Okay.
Paul. Let's go back. Let's play some Halo.
I'll play some Call of Duty. I downloaded it. It's just taking up all my PlayStation space. It's very
Let's play some
fast.
Halo. If you want to play Halo, I'll
I
whoop you.
played it a little bit, but I wasn't good at it.
See, I've been the same way with Call of Duty because Halo we started playing in high school, linking up. See, Taylor probably doesn't even know about all this. Like
Yeah,
you used to have to take Xboxes and link them together with Ethernet cords to play against each other, and now you can just do it on the internet. And that's how we started with Halo when the first one came out, and man, it was so fun because you'd be in the same house, but we'd have Ethernet cords running everywhere and have 4 TVs hooked up, yelling from room to room, and it was so much fun. But we got pretty good at
That's
it.
too much extroverting.
Huh.
Well, back when I didn't have any responsibility, it was worth it. And now, I do want to play poker though, Paul. I am playing poker.
We need a video game pod. Maybe that's what I'll start up for RotoHeat. RotoHeat video games.
We should. I mean, you could have like the RotoHeat randomness podcast or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want.
And I'm big on like top 10.
Take over the world.
Well, either people are gonna like it or they won't. I mean, it's the same thing. They might not like our advice either. So what are you gonna do, right? Some people will like it. Some
Can't be
people
going
won't.
that bad. People still show up. So
Kind of.
Sully's Twitter would beg to differ.
I was gonna say Sully's 2 Cents podcast. You can also find that everywhere you can listen to podcasts, except for maybe
Player FM.
Player FM. Yeah, I did. Paul says Rick gave Craig and I a meme group, and they've, eh, there's some stuff that, is a lot of people won't like, but I might have to make it private if it gets too out of hand. RotoHeat Hold'em games got to beat Rick. Uh, I mean, if we ever do a RotoHeat meetup, we will definitely have to
Play
play a poker
play
tournament.
Uno. Oh, poker.
Did you
Yeah,
say Uno?
Uno.
Uno.
Down for
I'm a
some
big
Uno.
Uno guy.
Uno. CXK said, great show. Subscribed. Thank you,
Thank
CXK.
you.
Um, what do you guys want us to talk about next week? We got Addison coming on. He says that he's not real versed with the rookies and college players, but what would you guys like to see us talk about next week with Addison when he comes on? Um, Let us know in the comments below if you're still watching or if you've watched this far on the replay. Um, Got to put that episode together here soon. Halo 3, Brandon, let's go. I have the Master Chief Collection. I will get on right after this stream. I am not kidding. I would be so happy. I hope I still have it downloaded though, because it took up a lot of space on my Xbox, and not many people still play it. I could never get any of my friends to play it. Have you ever played, Brad? Are you a Halo
Yeah,
player?
I've got the Master Chief Collection.
What? We need one more. We have 4 for our team.
That'd be pretty baller. Yeah, I wound up going out and buying like a 4 terabyte hard drive and hooking it up to my Xbox because I got just too much stuff. There's too many games.
Yeah. All right.
Although oddly enough, I've been playing FIFA a lot lately. Like when I do get to play, I've been playing soccer, and I don't even like soccer, but it's such a good game.
Um. Oh, Brad. Hey, Brad. Are you gonna get on?
Right now,
Yeah, right after the
I'm on
stream.
the live stream. Oh, after the stream. Oh, well, yeah, I can.
Dude, let's play. I'm so happy. I'm not gonna work, and I'm gonna get screamed at tomorrow by clients, but I don't care because it's been that type of week. So,
I'll say I got
um,
to try to record because Jacob Heason dropped today, so that means I have no more video content.
Silver Sports says buy sell, and that's kind of one of the things that I was thinking is a pre uh, free agency buy sell. So maybe we'll work that into next week's episode. I think that would be a good topic to cover. Um, uh, Singletary with Bills, he says he wants to buy low, I think. But yeah, uh, do we have anything that we want to say here? And Brandon's getting me his gamer tag. I hope I have this downloaded so I don't have to, because I won't be able to play till like Thursday of next week. Because that takes up so much space. I hope I didn't delete it. But do you guys have anything to say?
Yeah, Fortnite gamers, hit me up. We'll play. I'll consider dabbling back into Call of Duty, but I'm not as good as I used to be. Other than
Can
that,
you
You need to get
cross-platform
yourself an Xbox. That's
for
what you
what?
need.
for
Fortnite and Call of Duty
You
can,
can.
yeah.
I see. I have played so little games. I'm probably gonna be bad at Halo when we start playing, but I'm sure I'll pick it up because I haven't played in forever. Like I haven't even played my
Yeah.
Xbox in forever. Brad and I talked about playing a game like 4 months ago and never played. um,
It's downloaded.
well, see, now we're gonna play another game that I don't have downloaded. I'm sure. I feel like I deleted it. But next week we're gonna talk some buy sells. So we will throw that in there because I was already thinking about that. And I have a fun little game that I think I wanna factor in at the end of that episode. We'll think about that.
In the bottom.
Uh, Brandon says I play Fortnite. Hit me up. I have
Hey,
500 plus wins.
okay, all right.
Does that mean he's really good?
I mean, I don't have 500 wins, but I guess it depends on total number of matches played, right? All right, Brandon, what's your percentage? Yeah, I'll play. We'll play.
Um,
Not tonight. I gotta go to bed, but another night.
CXK said a good topic is talent versus fit in this draft. I think we are going to talk about that probably closer to the NFL draft. We talked about it a little bit tonight. If you got here late, check out the part we talked about a little bit before. But I completely agree with you. I like talent over landing spot 95% of the time. Um, okay, guys, it was a great stream. I think this last week was not smooth at all. These rookie drafts go a lot more smooth than the startup ones, so we won't do those anymore. And we'll do a few more of these throughout the season before we get um, to the rookie draft. And we're going to continue bringing you guys as much content as possible. Let us know what you want to see, what type of videos you want us to drop on YouTube. We've got some more rookie content coming there, but we're going to get some other content going. And, follow us everywhere. RotoHeat Fantasy on Twitter, RotoHeat Brad, uh, underscore Taylor Cornell on Twitter,
Yeah.
since he's
Sorry.
the only one on the team that's not RotoHeat name. Um, but yes,
Uh,
he's a team
Maybe
player.
when I get a hat, I'll put it at I'll
Yeah, I
change my
know. You need one of these hats. They're